Welcome to video 2 of Fire Mouse. This video is going to start looking into some information briefly concerning ancient Mexico. We're going to be looking into some connections with the pyramid location called Teotihuacan, and it is where I am here in a photo sometime around 2003-2004, and as you can see, overlooking the causeway to one of the pyramids in that location right there. And I don't know if you'll be able to see it right now or not, but I have connections to all of this information that I'm hoping to get you guys to begin to think about a little further. So I'm going to read you from a book entitled, appropriately, Heaven's Mirror by Graham Hancock. This is a photo out of the book, out of the beginning section, connected to information about Mexico, and we're going to be covering pages 16, and what you're looking at is page 17. The heading for this picture here is NANAHUATZIN, the bubonic god whose sacrifice ushered in the fifth sun. Now, I have wrote some little notes above it where I wrote Thunder Rebel, IGNIS COELO, and Mouse in the House. I'd like you to think about his name first. The first portion of the name, NANAHUATZIN, is Nana. And you can even see his nose here being heavily symbolic. And we're going to go ahead and read what is so special about this deified persona from the ancient past. But keep in mind, we're dealing with something that is being found in ancient Mexico as a record of its ancient people. But this record would be connected to the Olmecs, who were then connected to Quetzalcoatl. And then this is where you could see me in front of the Quetzalcoatl pyramid. And these would be the depictions of the famed Quetzalcoatl, the plumed or feathered serpent. And let's keep in mind that Quetzalcoatl was considered a light-skinned, tall man who had come over from a distant land, in which we should be pretty familiar with, and that would be the lands of the East, at least in relationship to the lands of the West that would be connected to what we have with the United States, and then of course Mesoamerica, which would be the lands of Mexico that would be in between South America and North America. A little bit about the Olmec people. They are considered the mother culture. Most people could readily look at the images of the Olmecs and see that they are connected as Africans. But the story is that these Africans had come over on some type of craft, some sort of raft, some sort of boat, with this Quetzalcoatl to usher in a new era of enlightenment, of things that were connected to the finer points of civilization that we can see, at least historically, were speedily lost once Quetzalcoatl had in essence disappeared from the scene. But we can see certain of the mythos that are connected, that were brought from another land and then transplanted to this land of Mexico, are going to be connected to what we are reading about this fire mouse. And we're going to see a very unique connection that will develop if you continue to watch the series with this individual, NANAHUATZIN. And we're going to be seeing him referred as a bubonic god. and then we will go back to the ancient Egyptian mythos. Now remember, Quetzalcoatl, the connection with the Olmecs, connection to the eastern lands, at least from the perception looking from our direction towards it. And we're going to talk about an ancient deified persona of another type of bubonic god, or at least a deified person that was seen as a type of god for fulfilling some sort of special act. So if we begin to read here, the key that I want you to maintain is at least the name with Nana being now connected to the moon. And as we saw that with the Akkadian and Sumerian text in some of the previous videos I showed, the Babylonian moon god was called Nana and was further translated as sin. And this is why Jesus Christ is, in my mind, in my understanding, my relativity, saying, "He who is without sin, let him cast the first stone." So as we could see, there could be something connected there with a type of double whammy, if you will, that is going to take place with prophecy, where certain men are seeking to fulfill what they believe is prophecy, but in an unrighteous manner against peoples of this world. All peoples of this world are the children of God. So as we see God through the prophets, and of course Jesus Christ has foretold, using the words of Jesus more appropriately, that he would have mercy and not a sacrifice. And if I'm correct, he says this in chapter 9 of the book of Matthew, verse 13. He even asks you to go find what this meaneth, and I've done my best to explain what that means thus far. And I would like you to take a personal search to understand what it means for you. So something's going to be cut short. And then, of course, the people that are seeking to deal this unrighteous judgment have been warned that the very fire that they seek for others will be fulfilled atop their very heads. So let's get into the very first portion of this. I'm going to read from page 16, a little bit of page 17 from the book Heaven's Mirror, by Graham Hancock, starting here on page 16, entitled Birth of the Fifth Sun. Recognition of the truth behind the Aztec propaganda should not blind us to the fact that the traditions concerning Teotihuacan incorporate a cosmic vision, both ancient and sophisticated, that sees the passage of time not as linear process, but as an endless series of immense cycles which witness the rise and fall of world systems. Fragments of this vision are found in the oldest Natal songs and poems. They proclaim that after the destruction of the fourth sun by a universal flood, there was water for 52 years, and then the sky collapsed. The gods gathered together on the summit of the primeval mound at Teotihuacan to decide who was to sacrifice himself, so as to become the new fifth sun and bring light again to the world. This is one of the poems. Even though it was night, even though it was not day, even though there was no light, they gathered. The gods convened there in Teotihuacan. Two of them competed for the honor to throw themselves into the sacred fire, from which the fifth sun would be kindled. The handsome and worldly TECCIZTECAL, who was arrogant and greedy for glory, and humble, self-effacing NANAHUATZIN, the bubonic god, ailing and covered in pustules. At the last moment, TECCIZTECAL bulked before the fierce heat of the flames. NANAHUATZIN, however, made an effort and closed his eyes and rushed forward and cast himself into the fire. And then he began to crackle and burn in the fire like one roasting. As a result of this act of cosmic altruism, the fifth sun finally arose, ushering in our present epoch. It took sight from the eyes. It shone. It threw out rays splendidly. Its rays split everywhere. I'll be back.